Ready? Looks like everybody's here that's going to be.
Captain Shane Hoopler is in the back, and I'd like to ask him to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this morning.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the May 15th, 2017 meeting of the Shawnee County Board of Commissioners. My name is Bob Archer. I currently serve as chair of the commission and represent District 3, alongside Commissioner Shelley Bueller, who represents District 1, and Commissioner Kevin Cook, who represents District 2. Good morning, everyone, and welcome.
Good morning.
First item of business, please.
First item is item 3, consent agenda.
Questions or comments on the consent agenda? There were 4 items, I believe.
And I will move approval.
Second.
Motion made to approve the consent agenda by Commissioner Bueller, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item 4, new business, A, County Clerk number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Commissioners, this morning we have vouchers that total $798,257.45. The highlights out of those voucher reports are payments for bridge project of $67,143.71, Department of Corrections with $174,873.34, State of Kansas holding accounts motor vehicle fund of $75,627.32, health insurance premiums of $244,109.87, workers' comp of payment for our carrier, $26,407.47, and finally Parks and Rec with $67,293.68. I do not have any questions regarding the vouchers, and I would move for their approval.
Second.
Motion made to approve the vouchers by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made to approve the correction orders by Commissioner Bueller, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item B, Parks and Recreation number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C 161-2017 with Americrete for construction of concrete paths at the Lake Shawnee Arboretum at a cost of $25,704 for Phase 1 with funding from the Capital Maintenance 3R Fund.
Good morning, excuse me. Good morning, Commissioners. John Knight, Parks and Recreation. This was one of the projects that we brought a proposed project budget in front of you several weeks ago, went out for bid. We estimated in that preliminary project budget that this may cost up to close to $50,000. We got great pricing on our concrete. What's before you this morning is the low and best bid of around $25,000. John Boyd is here. If you have any other specific questions about this project, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions or comments for Mr. Knight? Yes, Commissioner Cook.
John, can you just take a moment and tell the public and the media what is the Arboretum?
Arboretum?
Thank you.
Yeah. And there's no correlation between me jumping in to help you, Commissioner, and me letting Cindy Beck struggle with that same word. So, trust me, my life will be just as miserable after this meeting is over. The Lake Shawnee Arboretum is an area that is directly adjacent to the Ted Inslee Gardens and the Hanger Family Natural Preserve. All of those areas are using a great deal of private funding to be able to be set up. They go through our foundation. There's numerous events, numerous weddings, lots of pictures being shown in that area. The Arboretum itself was the Sabatini family was a big donor of getting it up and started. However, the paths in there were a soft We're a soft surface trail, and it seems like we don't get much more rain than we normally do, but we get it all at once here lately, and it really washes the concrete out and really inhibits the use of that place. So they're working to help offset those costs with the foundation, but this is a highly used area right at 37th and West Edge Road. Be happy to answer any other questions you may have.
No more.
No.
I move for approval.
I'll second.
Motion made to approve the contract by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please, Cindy.
Item B2, consider approval of a grant application for a grant from the Kansas Department of Wildlife Parks Community Fishery Assistance Program for Clarion Woods Park water quality improvements, including tube replacement, bank stabilization, and dredging, requiring a financial commitment from Shawnee County of $18,750.
Commissioners, that $18,750 is approximately 20% of the total project cost. We're hoping that the Community Fisheries Program will come in and pay the other 75%. It is long overdue work that's been needed on the pond, from dredging to replacing pipes and those type of things that really improve or make the water quality much better. Tom Hammer, one of our park maintenance supervisors, is here. This is his project. He'd be happy to answer any detailed questions you may have.
Essentially, this is a grant application at this point.
Correct.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Are there questions, Commissioners, about this?
And it's 75-25.
Mhm.
75-25. Okay. I have,
75-25 or 80-20?
75-25.
Okay, thank you.
I have no questions. I'll move approval.
Second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Bueller, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item B3, consider the following regarding the Cypress Ridge Cart Path project, with funding for the entire project from the Parks and Recreation Building Maintenance Fund, with long-term repayment from the Golf Revenue Revolving Fund and a dedicated income increase to user fees. 3A, authorization and execution of contract C-162-2017 with Americrete to construct concrete cart paths on holes number 10 through number 18 at Cypress Ridge Golf Course at a cost not to exceed $493,678.50. B, authorization and 3B, authorization and execution of contract C-163-2017, amendment to contract C-203-2010 with CE Golf Design for additional professional services of cart path layout and observation at a cost of $15,000, and any other additional services at an hourly rate of $145 per hour for the project architect and $95 per hour for the design architect. And 3C, approval of Cypress Ridge user fee to reflect a $1 increase across the board for golfers at Cypress Ridge.
Good morning, Commissioners. As the clerk just read to you, this is a three-part request. Instead of having three items individually on here, I tried to put them all together, because if you don't do one, there's no need in doing either of the other two. And as she just said, this is the Cypress Ridge Cart Paths is the project we've been working on. As I mentioned earlier, we were getting very good contract concrete pricing. I looked into the newspaper and saw that the city of Topeka, when they owned this golf course back in 2008, 2009, had begun looking at doing the same project, and they had a project budget of around $700,000. So if that kind of gives you some kind of idea of how really good the pricing is going. But the three items are to authorize and execute the contract with Americrete to put that concrete in for us. Contract with CE Golf Design to perform the specific tasks that we can't perform ourselves in-house, routing of cart paths, how close to greens, playability, all of those type of things. CE Golf Design is also the company who came in and did the master plan for this back in 2011. We want to this commission's then going to say, well, you're going to spend $493,000. How do you intend to pay for it? The way we would intend to pay for it would be by an increase of fees to the Cypress Ridge golfers. As you know, just to give you a little brief history, Cypress Ridge Golf Course was acquired by Shawnee County Parks and Rec back in 2012 as part of the merger with Parks and Recreation Departments. The other big change that happened with the Cypress Ridge Golf Course was in 2014, this commission approved me moving the Cypress Ridge and Lake Shawnee Golf Course into a revolving fund. The revolving fund operates without any tax dollars. It uses all of the user fees, so I know there's common talk out there that why should my tax dollars be going to playing of golf? At Lake Shawnee and Cypress Ridge Golf Course, that's not true. All of the monies being used there are coming from the golfers that play at those two courses. The other big thing that changed is I put a little chart on here that shows that the progress, the history of Cypress Ridge Golf Course, at least since we took over. Back in 2011, the year before we merged, the numbers that I was given were that they had 18,000 rounds of golf. We can't find a complete, accurate number on that. In fact, I think that number may even be just a little bit high. We immediately jumped in that first year about 22%. It went up to 23,000 or so rounds of golf. The next year after that, we continued our increase and jumped up another 16% up to 27,000 rounds of golf. And then after that, 2014, we saw a 6% increase. And then in 15 and 16, in 15 we had a 3% increase, and in 16 we were relatively flat. Several reasons for that. One, Kerry Golden has done a tremendous job of bringing the conditions of the course up to the level that the people want. I would also say that Austin Tillman and Penny Hickman, the two people who are independent contractors for us that operate the front end of the house there at the golf course, both of those two people have done a tremendous job in building up the clientele there, as you can see from the full room here this morning. One of the big things that Penny has also done is grow our youth golf program to by far the largest in Topeka and Shawnee County. I think there's close to 150 youth golfers in our youth golf program out there, which is important for the next director of Parks and Recreation, hopefully. When we had our master plan back in 2014, it was immediately identified by Pros Consulting that the reason that we are struggling to either turn a profit or even to break even at the Cypress Ridge Golf Course is because we lack the cart paths on the back nine. When it's not so much the play when you're raining, but it's after that of when we can get golfers out on nice days, have events going on, and not have to cancel those, when we can restrict the carts to cart paths only. When we have the big events there, if those happen to be weekends or holidays, when we have those events, then if they have to cancel that's a complete loss of revenue, where if we, at Lake Shawnee at that same time, we'd have people out there on the course because we just tell them they have to keep the carts on the path only. And we still get paid. I would like to also bring to your attention that both Kerry, even though this is a picture of me, I'm not sure how Kerry got on there. He did all the work, but I don't know how he got me onto the picture. Kerry Golden, Austin Tillman, and Penny, they all worked tremendously to engage the public, golfers, on all of this. This is a picture from our public engagement meeting that we held in January of 2016, where we discussed this. A lot of the things I was just talking about here, we talked about at that meeting. There was approximately 60 people in the room that day. We anticipated that crowd was going to be golfers. We held it at the golf course. It was a golf course project. So we immediately then, Kerry and Austin, put out a survey in which we received another close to 400 responses from a survey on our website. Kerry also went an additional step, went and visited with the neighborhood association over there, see if they had any input, any concerns, and they did not. They also presented this to Shawnee County Parks and Rec Advisory Advocacy Board on February the 28th, 2017. I would like, hopefully he's watching, I would like to do just a little quick shout out to our advisory board member who did most of the work on this, Dick Ketterman. Dick started at the beginning of this project and was supportive, but by the end of this, he was overly supportive and wanting to see this done, and I know that he probably needs a little boost right now. Thanks, Dick. Cart paths. Like I said, we had an initial estimate, because I was trying to go off of some of the stuff done in the past. We estimated this project cost somewhere around $700,000 to do. Knowing that you would ask me, I asked my staff how would they expect to pay for this, and what they thought that they would, what they recommended was they would make about $20,000 a year from the lost revenue just by the closings, the turning away of events, those type of things. We could also produce another $14,000 with a 1% or a $1 increase to the rounds of golf. What's before you today is not even the best case scenario, because there are a couple of other options we are still working on should this go through today, and those are partnerships, donations, creation of an endowment fund. The golf course general contractor, Austin, knows that he'll make more money off of this too, and if this passes, he'd like to renegotiate his contract, participate in paying back the cost of this, but the only thing he asks is that he has sufficient times that he can actually make some money back too, which I think is a pretty simple business proposition. Now here's the three bids that came in. Mercury, Conroy Contractors, and Dinkle Construction. All three are great companies, and we received very good pricing. I'd had to slip in a couple of pictures just to make my PowerPoint a little bit more exciting, but there we have a little sign there that says carts on path only, yet it's really kind of hard to find the path there. As you can see, there's some of the old paths. This is on number 11, where it goes from asphalt that was put in, and I'm sure that may be a question too, as to why wouldn't you go in asphalt? Well, asphalt's going to last 6 to 8 years, and asphalt's not even really a good product for this type of application, in that a lot of the reason asphalt stays, and the expert would be sitting right here next to me, but the weight of vehicles and those type of things help extend the life of some asphalt. The little cart path going on there has a lot more opportunity for it to heave and do the different things that obviously it just did there in the corner there. The third part of that agreement was to pay for this. To come before the commissioners and ask for improvements to a golf course, you would think that automatically golfers would be supportive of improvements to the course. It did not take a lot of convincing to get them to support that. When I told them they'd have to pay for it, I was surprised at how enthusiastically they stayed. All this does is, as you can see by the highlighted ones, these are would be the new pricing. It brings it up to the same level as what Lake Shawnee is, and over the course of about 8 or 9 years, we would be able to repay that building maintenance fund with the increased revenues. That's the end of my presentation, although it's not the end of my pictures. There's one of my pictures there. That's going up, I think that's hole 15. Yeah, going up hole number 15. You can see where they've tried to, over the time at the top of the hill, there's a little bit of concrete up there, but it is past time. Probably 2009, when the city wanted to do it, was past time to get these cart paths in. It's been something that's been going on with the golfers at Cypress Ridge for a long time. With that being said, I know Austin and Penny are both here. Kerry Golden is here too. Any of us would be happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Okay. We'll see if the commissioners have questions for you, John, and then if members of the public would like to talk to us, and we will do that process also. So, Commissioner Cook?
Yeah, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. John, our cost with Americrete was $493,678.50. In your presentation, you talked about making the golfing a revolving fund, so it's self-sustaining. Do you have $493,678.50 in your revolving fund?
Not in the revolving fund, no. I have that amount of money and then some in the building maintenance fund. And just to remind you guys, I know you know this, but the public may not, that building maintenance fund is developed with funds that come in from our contract with the National Park Service. So the golfers have been participating and have been the big, heavy participant in developing that fund to where it is today.
Okay. And in your building maintenance fund, this would be the fund that you use to do renovations and upkeep for the community centers, any physical structures, pools that we have, or paths, any physical structure we have in Shawnee County Parks and Rec.
Yes and no. The building maintenance fund, if you remember the presentation that the advisory board came in and presented to you guys, was to separate the building maintenance fund from the capital maintenance fund into two different funds and begin to track it that way. We chose to go ahead and keep them together and track them separately. The 3 Rs, those type of funds are in the building maintenance fund, but are tracked separately from the building maintenance fund. I intend to not touch the 3R funds at all to do this project.
There's the mathematical equation that for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. By taking the money out of the building fund to do these cart paths, what are you not able to do in Parks and Recreation? What's our lost opportunity?
Those funds are generally used for different startup projects, planning type projects. The remainder that's not a 3R fund are planning type projects, also grant matches, those type of things. So it would be unforeseen opportunities coming down the road. Like we just had mentioned the item before this, we have sufficient funds to match the grant for Mr. Hammer's request, and so far I think we have the sufficient funds to do everything that I can foresee in the way of planning budgets.
In your memorandum, you talk that it's going to take 11 years, approximately, estimated, to pay this money back. So for the next 11 years, the revolving fund, golf is not actually self-sustaining because it has a debt that it would owe to the building fund, correct?
No, I would still say that it was still self-sustaining. They're paying their cost instead of going to a bank or another lending institution that would charge an interest rate on top of that. All they're doing is paying back the fund that the golfers have been a predominant contributor to since we started the National Park Service grant program.
And this might be a question for Betty, just how we're going to pay the money back. I mean, if we're taking the money out of the building fund, if it's getting put back into the building fund, or how it's going to be accounted for.
Morning, Betty Griner. Excuse me, Betty Griner, Director of Administrative Services. This will be accounted, it will originally be paid out of the building maintenance fund at the time we, pay the vendor. Then we will actually transfer the money periodically. We have not, come up with the details yet, but periodically the funds would actually be transferred from the revolving fund back to the building maintenance fund, and we would be keeping a balance on that, quote, loan to the revolving fund. Did that answer your question?
It does.
It would be an internal transfer
Okay.
between the revolving fund and the other fund.
Okay. That does answer it. Thank you.
Okay.
And John, I know that we've talked before, but my concern is, not that it isn't needed, it's very obvious from the pictures that it's long overdue, but that Parks and Rec has a lot of needs.
I agree with you.
There's a lot of deferred maintenance that we inherited from the city of Topeka, and that we've been able to address over the years, and there's still a lot yet to be done from the merger of the Parks and Recreation with the city of Topeka. And it's going to take us quite a bit to get to where everything looks like Lake Shawnee, if we're able to ever get to that point. And just, again, lost opportunities is always a concern, especially if we're looking at the whole county. So, thank you.
No, thank you, Commissioner. Quick question. Golf is the only activity that we have in Parks and Rec that we don't subsidize. Is that correct?
Actually, there are a couple of things that are in in the revolving funds. We have taken some of our summer camps and moved them into the revolving fund, which is showing signs of being a tremendous benefit to the quality and offerings of our summer camp. And then this year, we also added the Lake Shawnee campground as well. What we try to do is the highly individual ones, the people that are gaining the benefit from the play of golf or from the camp, the benefit is highly individual, so we're trying to assess it that way. Those things like the Lake Shawnee Trail, community centers, those type of things that have a general community good are the ones that we would try not to subsidize, but likely would.
Yeah, excellent point. Thank you, John. Commissioner Bueller, questions for John?
I think it just brings up the point, and you and I have had this conversation often, John, is about long-term funding for Parks and Recreation. And we keep, every once in a while, we have these decisions before us, and we're not, I know your advisory board is making some attempts, but looking long-term on Parks and Recreation and how many dollars we're putting in, that's still a big concern of mine. I'm going to support this project because I support Parks and Recreation, but just project after project, we're talking about dollars and big dollars. This is a big dollar item, as with Midwest Health, but we're not talking long term, and I really feel like we need to do that. Got to figure it out sometime,
Yeah, I agree, and
not just property tax dollars.
Yes.
What do we? How are we funding these projects?
excellent point.
I really
Thank you.
think it needs to be addressed.
Thank you. I agree, Commissioner.
That's been I know I have a couple of advisory board members here too, Terry Roberts and Joe Ledbetter. Both of those two people have, and Mr. Ledbetter's only been to one meeting, but both of those people have identified that same problem as needing to address this somehow.
Yeah, and I think the master plan was an excellent start in looking at what we need to address in Parks and Rec. But yeah, Commissioner Bueller is right. We need to make the plan and then propose the funding to execute the plan. I totally agree.
Commissioner.
Yes, Commissioner.
When we had our work session not that long ago, Jim Martin laid out all the work the advisory board had laid out for our deferred maintenance. I mean, we have millions upon millions of dollars of deferred maintenance just to keep what we have up. And so that's, again, a continual concern, Commissioner Bueller, that we go from project to project without really looking at what our long-term strategy is. And so.
Agree. Members of the public who would like to comment? Oh, come on now.
I was going to say.
I see you golfers out there. All right, I knew I could.
First, I probably need to let you know I'm from the East Coast, so when I say the word cot, you probably won't understand it. I've been a member of Cypress Ridge Golf Course for quite a while, and it does serve a purpose to a lot of people in enrichment in their lives. You know, since the county has taken over the golf course, we've seen a lot of improvements made, and we need to just move forward. I have a favorite saying. You know, it's like crossing the street. Do I cross the street now? Do I cross the street later? Do I wait for the traffic to clear? You know, that saying is, let's just do it. You will see an increase. I guarantee you that. I've seen the looks on people's faces when they come out to Cypress Ridge and they play golf, and they go over their cart paths. We do loads of invitationals there for the ladies group, and it's almost embarrassing to me to see the cart paths in the condition in which they are in. And I think Sherry Bueller's been out there and rode it.
I have.
Yeah, and I wish your coffee cup was
No,
cover on
I didn't
it.
bring coffee with me. It would have been a little dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
But I think we need to look forward to getting this done. It's very important to a lot of people who have leisure time, and golf is increasingly becoming more and more important, and it teaches a lot to the young people. I mean, if you watch some of the first tee young people, you get a clear idea of how that prepares them for the future, whether or not they go forward with it or not. I have an 18-year-old grandson who has had some problems in the last year, and the first thing I did was I took him out and started playing golf with him. And I think that has helped him tremendously. So I leave it up to you. Do we move forward, or do we just stand still? Do we try to decide where every penny's going to come from? Because it will come. You know, once we open up that back end when it's raining, and, you know, it's going to take less maintenance to the fact that when the golf course is damp, they'll be on the cart paths and cart paths only. So think about that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Your name for the clerk. If you could say your name.
I'm sorry, it's Priscilla.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else to comment this morning? I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you. Next item, please.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Item C, Public Works, number 1, consider approval of request to award bid to Bettis Asphalt and Construction, Inc. for the cold mill and overlay of South Topeka Boulevard between Southwest 57th to north of Southwest Airport Road Drive, and authorization and execution of contract C-164-2017 for same in an amount of $313,723.50, with funding from the 2017 operating budget and the special highway account.
Commissioners, if you'll just let me get that picture of asphalt off of there with Tom Block coming up here, I don't know what kind of heck I'd have to pay with that kind of asphalt.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Block with Public Works and Solid Waste. This is a Public Works item, and we are requesting authorization to go ahead and mill and overlay the next long section of South Topeka Boulevard to continue on what we started last year. This section would go from 57th Street a little over a mile to what's called Southwest Airport Drive, and that's what goes into Forbes Airfield. We went out for bids, and we received 2 bids, with the low bid being submitted by Bettis Asphalt. They're a very reputable company that does this work, as you know, all the time. We got very good bids, as you can see from the memo. So it was our recommendation that that this contract be awarded to Bettis. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them. Also, just to refresh your memory on the schedule, we've given them a window of time for which they can complete it, or begin it and complete it, beginning shortly after Memorial Day, all the way up, I believe, and through September. But when they pick a starting date, then they will essentially have about 3 weeks to complete the whole work. So they can choose a starting date, but once they get started, they have to get it done quite quickly. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Questions on the project for Mr. Vlock?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item C2, consider approval of resolution number 2017-23, authorizing the installation and maintenance of temporary no parking signs for the Sherwood Lake Club's annual 4th of July activities.
Commissioners, Tom Block again, Public Works and Solid Waste. This is the annual request from the Sherwood Lake Club. They have festivities over the 4th of July weekend. This essentially would authorize us, this resolution would authorize us to put up some temporary no parking signs for those activities. There is a fee that gets charged by Mather Flare for some traffic control. They have submitted the payment for that. And like I said, we've been doing this for many, many years. So it was our recommendation that the resolution be approved so that we can assist them in this endeavor. So any questions? I'd be happy to answer them.
I'll move to adopt the resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item D, County Councilor, number 1, consider approval of recommendation of the Professional Services Selection Committee to award the bid for management and operations services of Kansas Expo Center to Spectre by Comcast Spector, and authorization by the County Councilor's Office to negotiate a contract.
Commissioners, Tom Block, Public Works and Solid Waste. I'm standing here today on behalf of the selection committee. I was a member of the committee. 3 of our members actually can't be here today. 2 are on vacation, and 1 had a serious family issue. So I will be presenting this item on behalf of the selection committee. And I'll try to go through the process. But first off, the selection committee comprised of myself as Director of Public Works, Betty Greiner, Director of Administrative Services, Jim Crowell is the Shawnee County Counselor, Pat Oblander is Director of Information Technology, and Bill Kroll, Director of Facilities. One thing I can tell you right off the bat was we took this very seriously. We know what a big decision this is to be made. So we did not enter into this very lightly at all, I can assure you that. But just, I know in the memo it covers kind of the process we went through, but I will go through that so anyone who's not seen the memo or watching on TV can kind of get an idea of what we went through. The first thing that was required for anyone that was wanting to propose on this contract was to attend a mandatory pre-proposal meeting and a tour of the current facilities out there at the Expo Center. We did this on February 22nd, of which we had 3 different companies attend that meeting, and they ended up being the 3 that did propose. After we had the tour, we issued an addendum. There were some questions that had come in. We had to clarify some questions, so we issued an addendum regarding the list of questions and requests for additional documentation. And as a result of that addendum, we extended the submittal date by a week or 2, as I recall. The final proposals then were to be submitted by March 31st, again, which we had received 3 responses, SMG, Spectra by Comcast, Spectacor, and VenueWorks. Then the selection committee then met over the course of this whole process. We met 5 separate times to analyze and discuss proposals, to review general information provided in their presentations as far as financial information in their presentations, in addition to just how they were going to approach managing the Expo Center in the future. The committee then conducted formal in-person interviews with each of the 3 vendors the week of April 17th, and then we developed a broad list of questions that we submitted. Some of the questions were general, that we wanted information from all of the vendors. Some of them were specifically related to just their proposal. So we had a broad list of questions that we asked during the presentations to each of the vendors. The presentations were held here in the commission chambers so that we could have them video recorded, so that the commission then had the ability to view the presentations as well. Then after the presentations, we set up on-site visits to facilities that each of these companies currently operates. The committee chose which venues we are going to visit. We did not allow the vendor to choose, basically cherry pick what we thought they're going to be their best venue. We wanted to make that selection. So we did make the selections. We visited a facility from Spectra in Independence, Missouri, and then VenueWorks and SMG had facilities that they operate down in Wichita, the Wichita area. VenueWorks is actually in Park City. These visits not only included a tour of the facility, but we also had private interviews with the owners and contract administrators of these facilities without the vendors being present. So we could, throughout the presentations, there's always these claims that are being made. And it's great to hear these claims. So we wanted to talk to the owners and the contract administrators independently so that we could verify the claims that were being made in the presentations. Then after all this is said and done, we came back and reviewed and assessed the proposals, the presentations, and site visits, and the comments we received back from the owners and contract administrators, and basically evaluated each vendor on the following categories: experience, qualifications, and references, quality of management team, operational approach and methodology, proposed financial compensation plan, financial stability, capital investment proposal, marketing experience and quality of marketing plan, and sensitivity to local needs, issues, and concerns. So after we went through all that and discussed it and made our recommendations, we did a blind vote from all the committee members. And the blind vote that we took, and after the discussion, was that the committee unanimously voted to recommend that we select Spectra by Comcast Spectacor to be awarded the contract for operations of the Expo Center for this next time period. I believe it's going to be 5 years is what the initial term would be. As I mentioned, with that being a recommendation for a switch in management, one of the things that had come up during our discussions was staff retention. We were concerned about, what is this going to do? And in those discussions, Spectra had indicated, this isn't necessarily a new thing where a new management team comes in and so they do the transition. And we asked about staff retention, and they said their typical staff retention is about 92%. They try to hire on those who are currently know the facility as much as they can. So that gave us a little bit of level of comfort because that it wouldn't be just a complete turnover. If the 92% rate is what's typical for them, that made us feel quite a bit more comfortable in recommending a change. As I mentioned, the committee took this very seriously and realized what a big decision this was going to be. And I do know, and you'll probably hear soon, there's some dissension to how this process is, and that the commission turns it over to a professional selections committee to go through the process and vet the process, as opposed to the commission itself. I can understand that thinking to some degree. However, what I do believe is that the process that the county goes through in this type of selection, and it's the type of selection we do for basically all major selections, it eliminates, in my opinion at least, it eliminates the possibility of political influence by having an unbiased group conduct a review. Those of us on the selection committee really have we are not involved in the day-to-day operation of that facility. So we go into it, as a selection committee, we go into it looking at what do we believe would be best for the county in the long run. And what that does is it gives us an independent and unbiased selection process, in my opinion. And so while we'll get people who dissent against it, I do believe it is a good way of going about it. And don't get me wrong, all three of these firms are very good firms. All three could do this job. All three do this type of work. So we really were in we probably couldn't go wrong. However, I think what it basically came down to is we felt Spectra provided the best approach into the future, and we felt that what's going on now is adequate and okay, but I don't think we are okay with being okay. We think we can be more, and I think the selection committee, in making this decision, felt Spectra provided us that opportunity to be more than we are today. So it is with that, on behalf of the selection committee, I stand here and offer the recommendation that Spectra by Comcast Spectacor be awarded the management contract for the Expo Center beginning January 1st of 2018. So if any questions, I do have Ms. Greiner in the audience. If any questions for the two of us, we'll be sure happy to try to answer them.
First of all, let me say thank you to the members of the selection committee for your dedication and hard work. And I know this was a lot of hard work, and the committee took it very seriously. So, thank you. It is deeply appreciated by me as the chair of the commission. Questions for Tom before we take public comment?
Now, I would just say, though, the time involved, you all doing the site visits and the amount of time you invested in it is appreciated. So please express that to the others as well.
Yeah, because you got day jobs too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
as far as you know.
Commissioner, any
yeah.
questions?
Question, Tom or Betty. On the second page, it has a list of factors, 1 through 8. How were those weighted in any way, or can you kind of explain the discussions surrounding those? Are they in order, or
No, they were.
importance, or-
We rated them on a scale of 1 to 10.
Okay.
Each item was a scale of 1 to 10, so we had a total of 80 points, I
Okay.
guess. But no, neither one was necessarily weighted more than the others. They were all, as far as treated equally. Each was worth 10 points. And
Okay.
so there was not, this one was worth more, this one's worth 20, this one's worth 5, nothing like that.
But there was a quantitative analysis
Yes.
on those 8 factors?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. But all equal?
Any,
No.
nothing additional, Commissioner? Commissioner Cook?
No. Hear public comment.
Public comment is, again, thank you, Tom. Is there anyone who wants to discuss in public comment?
Thank you, Commissioners. H.R. Cook, Regional General Manager, SMG. Thank you for your time today. And I also would like to thank the Selection Committee, because I've served on this committee for a couple different items. And I know it's hard work, and it does take a lot of time. There's a lot of meetings, and there's a lot of discussion. With that being said, the vetting process, I believe, was done in a fair manner as far as the questions asked and the RFP presented. We do ask, though, that careful consideration be made to the current clients of the Expo Center as we go forward into the future. Any review of which the commissioners review the RFP themselves, we feel that SMG had a very strong proposal. We don't know what the other proposals were. It was a very fair process. That our capital commitment of over $1 million should have been taken into consideration, but that maybe take a look at the what is done, who can best take us into the future as far as the construction phase, the design phase, as far as current events and future events. If the decision is made, indeed for another company, and it is a fair decision and it's all out on the table, then we'll be more than happy to work with that company to make the transition as easy as possible. We just want to make sure that all aspects are taken into account, and that maybe someone in the actual industry, maybe an independent contractor, might be able to take a look at the bid. So with that, again, thank you very much for because it was, you could tell they do their due diligence, and they asked a lot of questions on the tours. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, HR. Other comments?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Larry Goronsky, Executive Director of the Topeka Performing Arts Center and part of the presentation team for VenueWorks. We're proud to have been part of the process. We thank you for allowing us to be part of this, to the Selection Committee, to the Commissioners. We feel very strongly about Topeka and Shawnee County, and we feel the process been very fair. And as in speaking with Betty Greiner from the selection committee, said that we certainly are working very much toward a closer Topeka and Shawnee County working together. We had that relationship with SMG. We certainly will do the same with Spectra, and we look forward to a wonderful future. And thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Anyone else for comment?
I think we have
Oh,
Morning, Commissioners. How are you? Joseph Ledbetter. I have a fairly long relationship with H.R. Cook and his company, and one of the things I've noticed over the years is he's very concerned about the community. I think that resources have always been something that needed to be addressed at the Expo. I know I went over there in 2014 and saw for myself things that they needed help getting maintenance on, and the commission did respond to that. I came up budget time and asked for money to be earmarked for just the budget or for the maintenance on that facility. One of the things that I know about SMG is, from what I've looked at, they've offered a lot of things, including $1 million to help with the cost. They've offered to cut their fees quite a bit. I don't know what the other people have offered, but I think because of their long-term relationship with the community and the fact they've worked with the horse people and various groups over there as long as they have, that is valuable. Another thing that I am aware of is that they have started working with the Evel Knievel Museum, which is going to, I believe, be a pretty big draw to this community, at least in its onset, and about parking and things like that. And there's been discussion that perhaps the Expo Center management and these other entities, as well as maybe other interested parties in the city of Topeka, could start to look at redeveloping the area around the Expo, which really has not been, in my opinion, developed well, because we're getting ready to spend $45 million on this block. And I think that does impact the other areas, providing there's code enforcement and things that the city has to do. My office is 2 blocks from the Expo, and I can tell you there are some code issues over there I've spoken very strong about. My office looks very good. I've got a good landlord. He's taking very good care of it. But you know, I would ask that you would you know, let these people make their own presentations to you if you felt that was in order, and answer their own questions so that everybody can see what the other side offered and compare apples to apples. And I just think it'd be, not to overuse the word transparent, but I think that would be good for the public to see all of that before you make a decision. And that's all. Thanks.
thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
Good morning. John Federico of Federico Consulting here on behalf of Spectra. I apologize, didn't wear a tie, I didn't expect to speak. But I wanted to make sure that I conveyed a couple of thoughts. One is thanks to the selection committee. In my conversations with my contact at Spectra, they thought this was one of the most thorough reviews of contract procurement that they've ever experienced. I can't speak to transparency and what have you, but we're proud of a unanimous recommendation. I think that should speak for itself. My role with Spectra was very limited. they felt they couldn't really make a serious presentation to win the business of the county without spending time and getting a feel of what the wants and needs were of the county. So in that regard, I introduced them. Personally, I couldn't be any more proud of Shawnee County and the city of Topeka and do my part to improve the quality of life here. What is unquestionable is the enthusiasm that Spectra has for moving forward with their management of the Expo Center. In short, it is genuine, sincere opportunity to move forward and make this community proud of that building, the shows that are in there, and what it means to the quality of life in Shawnee County. And with that, we just appreciate your fair consideration of this recommendation.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here on behalf of the Advisory Council to the Expo Center, Mary Thomas, serving as Vice Chair. I appreciate all the hard work the committee has done. I know most of those members. I respect their work completely, as you do. I think we have two issues here. The short-term construction, and I know that the Advisory Council is most concerned about the intrinsic value of the people in place now. Long-term, knowing that property, the community, the buildings, the venue, the types of shows that we have there, and the longer game in bringing us into the future. So we might want to take this in a two-part phase. I don't want to second-guess what your decision should be. I don't pretend to tell you how to do this. But as far as what is represented here for the Advisory Council, that is our main goal right now. We have that $45 million. SMG was integral in helping us make that happen with the county and the vote from the constituents, and we want to make every dollar count. And I think the value that those people have for the area, the property, and the buildings have bigger value than the long-term game on how we take this whole thing into the future. So I might encourage you to think about it in a two-phase process. Thank you on behalf of the Advisory Council.
Thank you. It's good to see you, Mary.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Anyone else for comments? I'm going to make a recommendation to approve the request. I've given this a lot of thought. It is a very serious issue, and I'll tell you why. I have confidence in the process that we use. It's independent and it's non-political, as Tom Block said. The other item is it was a unanimous recommendation by all members of the committee. And in the final analysis, I have complete confidence in our team of leaders that served on this committee. So again, I make a recommendation to approve the recommendation. Other thoughts, commissioners?
Commissioner?
Yes.
I'm not going to second your motion, not that I don't support the professional selection committee, but just that I would offer as an alternative that today we accept the report from the professional selection committee and that we set a time for the Spectra to come and make a presentation to the Board of County Commissioners. Ultimately, the decision as to the future of the Expo Center rests in our hands, and I think that in the space, in transparency, if that we want to use that word, and that's an overused word, but just in the sake of laying out before the commission, what is it that they're planning on doing? Why are they the best candidate for this? And it would be an affirmation of the work that's been put in by the professional selection committee should we choose to make that vote. So it would be my request that, again, I can't support your motion, and again, not to disrespect the work of the professional selection committee, but it would be my request that we have a vote to approve the recommendation, receive it, and then to schedule a time for Spectra, and then to have a vote at that point.
Commissioner?
Well, and I will tell you where I am leaning is towards Commissioner Cook, and the reason why is because over the weekend received a number of letters, emails from people in the community who are somewhat unsure of the future. They want to know what Spectra brings to the table. They want to know how they might establish a relationship with them. I want Spectra to be here when we take action on this, and they're not here today. I know you're representing them, John, but they're not here today. So I would like a presentation, given that fact, and the opportunity for us to hear firsthand. I did watch all three of the presentations. I didn't have the opportunity for the site visits or all the in-depth knowledge that you all had, but I don't see any harm in at least us listening to Spectra firsthand.
Excuse me, if you don't mind, Betty Greiner, Director of Administrative Services. I just wanted you to know that it was not that Spectra was asked to come and did not. I did not ask them to come for this meeting, knowing that we would probably be doing a presentation later. So I didn't want it to look negatively upon Spectra that they were not here. They were not asked to come. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, and I specifically asked that they make a presentation after we had considered the recommendation.
So anyway, I just wanted to make that clear, that it wasn't that they
Very good.
didn't show up, they weren't asked to.
Very good, very good.
Well, again, I think something of this importance, I would want the company to be here. So I'll support Commissioner Cook's recommendation, or motion. I know you still have one on the table, but
Okay.
go from there.
Your motion's still pending.
It dies for lack of a second. And
I would make a motion that we receive the report from the Professional Selection Committee and that a time be set for a presentation by Spectra. I don't know, would they be able to appear in a week? I'm looking at Mr. Federico as,
On the 5th.
on the 22nd. Would they be able to make a presentation at that time?
They'll be here any day, any time. Again, we didn't know they needed to be here today.
Yes, and again, that was me, just to make that clear.
And then for a formal presentation by Spectra on May the 22nd. Let's vote. That's my
Yes,
motion.
I'll second.
Motion made to accept the recommendation with a presentation by Spectra, 22nd, by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. No. Motion carries 2-1. Commissioner Archer dissenting. Next item, please.
Item 5, administrative communications.
Good morning, Commissioners. Randy Luby with Parks and Recreation. I have a couple announcements to make. We are holding a press conference for the 2017 inductees to the Shawnee County Baseball Hall of Fame this Wednesday, the 17th at 10 a.m. At the Bettis Family Sports Complex. This year's ceremony will be held at the Ramada Inn Convention Center instead of Bettis. We've kind of outgrown Bettis. The event keeps getting bigger, and that will be July 13th. I believe that's a Thursday. Our guest speaker will be Mike Torres, who most of you know played his high school baseball at Topeka High and went on to have a stellar Major League Baseball career with the Boston Red Sox and won a World Series with the New York Yankees. We also are receiving the Blue Chip Award on May 18th, this Thursday at 1:30 at the Shawnee North Fitness Loop Trail. For you that really aren't familiar with the Blue Chip Award, it is a community health program that was created about 7 years ago by KRPA and Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas that reward Kansas communities that encourage and support healthy lifestyles through programs and initiatives, policies, and community-wide events. Again, that will be presented at 1:30 at Shawnee North Fitness Trail. And actually, it was announced back in January at our annual conference, and we've put off to having the ceremony until now. Also, report on our job for the summer. We still need about 60 lifeguards. And I talked to Mr. Aliker. He has about 17 or 18 that he received late Friday. And if, I trust Dave will be able to get this done. He may have to adjust rotations and the way we normally do things, but I'm sure we'll get this done. And we'll also are still accepting for sports facilities with scorekeepers and site supervisors.
Commissioner
Randy,
Bueller.
but for the lifeguards, though, it's just not an application and then you're a lifeguard.
Correct.
It takes a little time, so, I mean, we're planning on opening pools when?
Memorial Weekend, which
Okay.
is 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So,
little
and
less
so
than
they
2
have
weeks.
to apply, and then they have to go through lifeguard training, or if you're certified,
Correct.
then you can apply, but they have to go through training, Red Cross training, what else?
First aid, CPR, that's all part of the
Of
Red
the-
Cross
okay.
training. I would like a little help from Human Resources. We normally don't receive our applications till the Friday. If we
Yeah.
can start getting them as soon as they come in, because we need to get on this as soon as possible. Like Commissioner Bueller said, there's some training involved. It'd be nice if they had all that, but
Right.
I doubt it. A lot of them will.
Yeah, we need to speed up the process, I believe. I think that's in our best interest.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we don't want pools not to open,
Exactly.
so.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
HR Cook, Regional General Manager, Kansas Expo Center. I would like to point out that my son JR, who's in the back, was a lifeguard for 3 years for Parks and Rec, and he can tell you that it's made him a better man. And it is a long process, but you do get certified by the Red Cross, and that's very important. So, and it's a pretty fun job. I don't know. He had a lot of dates out of it. One thing for this weekend for the Expo Center, I'd like to, there was a press release that went out this morning regarding our activity coming up this weekend. We have all 6, both county and city graduations this weekend. We have a very, very large horse show, and the Evans Carnival is in town at the same time. This happens I think it happened to me last time about 12 years ago, where the graduation shifted by a week, and we had this. Parking, though we'll have parking, will be somewhat limited for the larger schools. We ask everyone to carpool and arrive early. We'll have a drop-off area in front of the building, and then we'll have people directing you to a parking area. We're going to make sure that everybody's accommodated. The Boston show is coming up in a couple weeks. Ticket sales are very strong for that. But I wanted to come up here just to let you know that the dog show was this last weekend, and the Great Plains Dog Show, one of the second largest dog show we have. And I was talking to the director last night, who got a compliment from a gentleman in Denver who is an airline pilot, who is a dog owner, and rave compliments regarding the county, the city of Topeka, and the service that they received from the hotel. The hotel now has a new general manager, and it was just, he couldn't say enough. It's probably the best dog show he's been to, and he's been doing it, he said, for 20 years. So that is just through the grapevine. I wanted to pass that along, that what the work that Shawnee County and the city of Topeka are doing are starting to pay off. People are noticing that. So thank you.
HR, third Thursday.
Oh, yes, third Thursday, yes, coming up at 4 o'clock at Heritage Hall. We'll have music and plenty of libations. Bring your pets. And we'll have a ribbon cutting celebrating the 30th anniversary of the Kansas Expo Center. So we will also have former Commissioner Ted Ensley telling us some history stories regarding, because he was the first general manager of the Expo Center, so, or second, I guess. Rosenblatt was first, so thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ed Kales with the Health Department. You may recall a month or so ago you approved the aid to local agreement with KDHE, and part of that agreement was a new mosquito surveillance program. Our environmental health staff and our MRC volunteers were trained last week, so we should be starting that surveillance program this week, and it'll run for the next 24 weeks. So we have 6 sites, and we'll be collecting mosquitoes, and there is a entomologist from KU that will be identifying those and providing the information back to us to help us make program decisions.
Good. Thank you, Ed. Others? Commissioner Bueller?
No, I do not have
No.
anything.
Commissioner
Thank
Cook?
No.
Next item, please.
Item 6, executive session.
There is a need for an executive session not to exceed 15 minutes for the purpose of discussing non-elected personnel and attorney-client privileged information, and that is a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. We're in executive session. We are back from executive session and officially adjourned.